Hi, welcome to the Managing the Project Lifecycle from Proposal to Close Unanet webinar. I'm Sherry Dargenio. We'll go ahead and get started. We're very excited to have you join us this afternoon, and for some of you, it's still the morning. So welcome. We're excited to have you all. I'm Sherry Dargenio, and on the call here, the webinar with us is Donna Kilborn. Our customer account management team works closely with our customers, and one of the most common questions that we hear from you is, we capture time and run reports, but I know Unanet does more. Or we enter time in timesheets and we do expense reports, but how do we track this as the project moves forward? Or what is a periodic report? I know Unanet does a lot of project or portfolio management. Well, what is that specifically? Or I know we don't use our Unanet to its fullest potential. What more does it do? So Unanet has a vast set of tools and capabilities as a portfolio management tool and can sometimes be really overwhelming with so much information, especially back when you first started with Unanet and your implementation consultant. Think of this webinar as a Unanet refresher course to learn about all the features potentially available to you with your Unanet. You heard or knew Unanet does more, but didn't really know how or what to ask about specifically from your customer account manager. Speaking of our customer account management team, again, I am Sherry Dargenio, one of your customer account managers with Unanet. And I also have Donna Kilborn, Senior Vice President of Partnerships and Customer Account Management on the webinar. We have a strong CAM team in place with an assigned account manager to each and every client. We value our customers and we want to provide the best possible service so you can maximize your Unanet investment, and we're happy to show you specific areas of interest. We also coordinate additional professional services if needed, since the majority of our customers regularly re-engage with our services team to implement additional features. The customer account management team hosts these webinars bi-weekly to keep you up to date on topics you've suggested to us. Please contact us if you have questions or want to know more about upgrading your Unanet licenses to add features, reports, or processes that you see here today in this webinar. You can reach us at cam@unanet.com. So what do the Taj Mahal, the Eiffel Tower, and the Internet have in common? Projects. All three are products of projects. And how do people really build immense and complex structures or systems such as the Taj Mahal, the Eiffel Tower, or the World Wide Web? It's through projects. Through projects, it's possible to build small and big, simple and complex things in an effective and efficient manner. All projects need to be managed. A so-called unmanaged project is simply a poorly managed project that's destined to fail. So the importance of project management cannot be overstated. Managing a project means managing the life cycle of the project, starting from the beginning to the end. And this is accomplished through knowledge, processes, tools, and resources. So this webinar is going to focus on helping you understand how your Unanet instance provides you with tools to help your project managers implement and track projects from the bid and proposal stage to planning budgets, from capturing time and expenses to assigning resources to a project, from billing and invoicing your customer to analyzing how well you planned and how you can do better on the next proposal. I have a few quick housekeeping rules. You may experience some networking or internet delays or a lag in response time. If your screen stops updating, just try dropping off and re-entering the conference again. We encourage you to ask questions via the webinar questions box to the right of your screen at the end of the presentation. We will be responding to your typed questions. If we run out of time, do enter your questions still, and your customer account manager will respond directly after the webinar ends. Or you can send your questions to cam@unanet.com, and your assigned customer account manager will contact you to help you better understand any specific report or feature that you've noticed today. Unanet always welcomes your comments, your feedbacks, or suggestions, so feel free to email me at cam@unanet.com, and the team will address your input. We are always seeking new topics for webinars, so don't hesitate to send those ideas to me. We want you to maximize your Unanet investment. So I have a quick poll for you. I want to know, which project license are you using? Just click the option. Is it project time, or is it project expense, tracking, or portfolio? I'll give you a few seconds to click that in, and we appreciate your feedback here. If you just click in the box here and then hit submit, you should be able to submit your response. Okay, it looks like most of you have submitted something. Oh, a few more coming in. Great. We're pretty evenly distributed. I've got 61% of you with time, 48 with project expense, project tracking, portfolio. Okay, great. I appreciate you. Whoops. There you go. And at the end of the webinar, if you could make sure you ask at least one question, we want to hear from you. So, great. So let's get started. So here are the stages of the project lifecycle, defined from proposal to close. Does this look familiar? Very quickly, I'm going to define these as proposal. It's where a proposal is defined for a potential billable project. Initiate is obviously the start of the project. Planning is planning and scheduling the work to be performed, defining the work breakdown structure, estimating costs, and determining your budgets. Executes when you actually start to perform the work. Monitor and control. This is to identify risks and variances early with the dashboards and reporting, and proactively make adjustments to keep your project on track. And finally, close, where the product is accepted or the contract is fulfilled or completed, or maybe your research and development effort is determined to be viable or not, and you assess the lessons learned for the project. With Unanet's tools and processes, because you have access to data real-time to plan, report, and adjust, planning can be accomplished much earlier in the life cycle. Initial staffing plans, those work breakdown structures, cost estimates, budgets, can be established at the proposal stage. So I propose, no pun intended, that before the contract is awarded, initial plans for budgets and staffing can be created in the proposal stage of the life cycle. And the planning box can be moved earlier in the life cycle. Now, this doesn't mean you can't adjust and tweak these initial plans once you have more knowledge about your specific resources or requirements. But earlier planning leads to smart, more competitive proposals that wins the work. So even for internal non-billable projects such as R&D proof of concept, planning would instead replace the proposal stage, still using the Unanet tool for the project. So let's take a closer look. So what's going to happen in this propose/plan in the life cycle here? You can track all of your pending or planned proposals or projects with assigned weighted probabilities of acceptance based on a periodic forecast report. This is available with the portfolio license, and this views projects' expected revenue and project margin. I can select to view only proposals with the probability to win maybe greater than 50% to show the hours and total cost with just a quick change of the reporting options. You can see here I have 2 projects with more than 50% weighted probability. You can also create an ad hoc report to show pending projects and their probabilities. An ad hoc report is a mechanism to create basic tabular reports where users can provide additional criteria to further filter the report output. Once you have created this, you have the option of running or saving these reports on your dashboard. Report definitions can even be shared via an export or import mechanism, and report output can be easily saved in a CSV format, and you can manipulate formats of the report even further. If the report's dashboard and all the possible thousands of reporting options can't fulfill your reporting requirements, then an ad hoc reports can be created and used. And creating ad hoc reports are available with all the Unanet license types. I highly recommend using a project template or templates for work that is similar in nature for creating your proposal project in Unanet. This way, you can continually update this template project as you learn from current and previous historical performance. Depending on the type of projects you regularly bid or you work on, you may decide to have various kinds of templates, such as short-term, maybe for projects completed in weeks, or a long-term template for projects longer than a year. So showing my template projects here, I have a project organization named Templates, and I've named my project Software Development. I can now use the copy project available to everyone with any license type to copy from the template project and create a new proposal. And even with the latest 9.5 release, I can select the work breakdown structure, expense budgets, plan sets, along with my billing and invoicing instructions. You can see here I have copied from my project org code template and project name Software Development, and I've named my new proposal Project DAR.SW.1203 for my Customer 1. Analyzing current or previous similar projects can give great insight into the successes, or more importantly, the setbacks that occurred during the project. With the one report, the Project Performance Report, I can learn quickly how many hours did I budget for my project compared to the actual number of hours charged. It looks like I was under budget for my project in hours, particularly in the development task. With the same report, I changed one reporting option to compare my labor costs. I was under budget by $200K here. Same report again, and change one other reporting option, re-execute, and I can compare my expense budgets and actuals. It looks like here I was way under budget by $61K. Reviewing historical data lets you know how well you did estimating the cost and budget for this type of work. So what type of resources did I use in my previous project? I can run the project's actual summary report with reporting options to show what type of labor categories or job roles did I assign on my previous project. For each labor type, I can view the number of hours charged, the cost of these hours, and the cost of expenses incurred for each job category for this project. Changing the reporting options, same report, I can now break the project down by task and show which job roles or labor category worked on each task and what are the associated costs and the number of hours for each task. Again, all with the same Project Actuals Summary Report. You can view the work breakdown structure of my proposal project via the task list for the proposal project with a few additional options. I can display the budget of hours, the cost, the expenses, and if I've learned that, for instance, the installation task only needs 5 days versus 25 days, or maybe my expense budget for the project support really needs to be increased to allow for travel for a particular customer, I can click the double pencil here to edit and apply these changes to the fields for all the tasks. Applying these lessons learned to this proposal and leveraging these lessons for the next project is a best practice recommended in Unanet. For each template, a default resource and expense plan can be included. Estimating expenses and staffing is done easily and quickly with grid-like planning features in Unanet called the Expense Planner and the People Planner, available in the Portfolio License type. I can plan for specific people with defined labor categories or unnamed people, or even a skill set that the project requires, or maybe a specific location that I prefer. I can add certain resources at half-time or quarter-time, or plan just a specific number of hours based on the knowledge I have now that I've worked successfully on the previous project. I can immediately run the periodic cost summary report available with the portfolio license to create my cost proposal. Choosing to report on plans, and I've listed here for a quarter, this report shows labor costs, direct costs, and indirect costs, along with the projected revenue, and finally the profit and profit margin in one single report. I can report on true project costs in real time without waiting for the finance department to produce this report for me, especially since this is on projected plans. Do they even have time to produce such a report or the information available to them? You can instantly determine the viability or competitiveness of this bid. Based on how competitive I can propose this work, will I win? Is it competitive? Or do I need to adjust my expenses or tweak my labor costs to get to a point where it looks like I can complete the work successfully, but with a competitive price? So to streamline project reporting with true burden costs, this is referred to as project costing in Unanet, and it's available with the project tracking and project portfolio license. An implementation consultant can set up your cost structures and rates for you, as well as tailor this cost summary report. So moving along to our initiate step in the life cycle, here's the point where you have won the award. So let's go into this more specifically. You can now activate the proposal by first maybe changing the project status to open. The project code might be a naming convention for proposals, but once a contract, the accounting system would most likely generate a unique identifier, and it would need to be reflected here. The project type might be updated from a proposal type to a billable project type. So this is all here with the project profile. At this point, once the accounting system is set up, it can be associated with the project code along with the account codes in preparation for work to begin. Unanet integrates with so many third-party accounting systems, many of them bidirectional through our import and export templates. If you're not currently integrated with your accounting and or payroll systems, please contact us at CAM so we can help you better understand how Unanet can be integrated with your specific third-party systems. I can then associate any project documentation such as contracts, requirements, maybe a point of contact, list of deliverables. These can be attached as Word documents or PDFs in the Notes feature associated with a project. You can see here I have actual attachments to the various note types for each type of document. The note is assigned to a user, and any changes or modifications are tracked via an audit trail. The Notes feature can be used for identifying risk items, change requests, or issues with associated action items, and the title, description, and type can all be searched. So here's an example of the types of notes you could define for your business across all of your projects. And the best part is this is available with every license type. The Notes feature, what I call the collaborative teamwork tool, is the focus of our next CAM webinar on July 19th, and it is a must-see to learn specific processes and examples on how you can use this feature more effectively across the life cycle of your projects. So let me switch over. I have another poll for you really quickly. I'm pulling it up now. If you could answer, do you currently use the notes feature? I'll give you a few more seconds to respond. It looks like it's about 1/3 yes and 2/3 no. So definitely you want to sign up for our next webinar on July 19th and learn more about our collaborative teamwork notes feature. And that is, again, available with every license type that you have. Great. Appreciate that. So let's move on. The project billing and invoicing feature included with the project tracking license type provides invoicing and revenue recognition. Functionality for fixed price or time and materials and even cost plus contract types. If your contract is a fixed price, for example, a billing and revenue recognition schedule can be created. You could define your billing schedule to be quarterly or just on specific dates. It can be based on when billed or a percentage of work completed. You can add fixed items to be billed or add pre-bill items or even one-time fees. The definition of the contract type designated to the project indicates to Unanet how to calculate the amount to bill your client. Payment terms can be listed on the invoice. And the invoice format itself can be tailored to show as little detail as your client requires or more detail if you need. Your company logo can be added. Multiple standard invoice formats can be created with a specific selection needed for your particular contract or client. So you can have many different types of standards based on how many clients you have. The invoice date, hours, and the total amount can be exported to your downstream system. I wonder how many of you are planning resources based on the knowledge you have in your head. You just know that Matt and Bob are experts in Java, but what else are they skilled at? Or who else knows Java besides them? And are they working on a project right now? And if so, how much are they committed to that project? Is it a part-time or is it full-time? You could send a quick email to Matt's project lead, but maybe Matt's working on several projects. You might not get the full picture of his capacity talking with just one project lead. Unanet's resource management feature available with the portfolio license provides just this information real time. Let me show you an example. This is a default staffing plan copied from the project template that we talked about before, and it's using several TBD or ghost users that are unnamed, but I've named them as the job role or the category here, system engineer and project manager. Now I want to plan actual people, and my requirements for this project is that I need a person who knows either Java or C++. Setting up a person's skill or inventory allows you to plan specific resources, searching for specific skills, or you could search on a location. Maybe I want resources local to the customer since the work has to require the person to be on site. Or I can search on the particular person's name since I know that person's experience and qualifications are a great match and I've worked with him before. The matrix or grid appears with my current named resource, Mike Wallace as a program manager, and any new resources that match the criteria. In our case, all of these individuals have Java or C++ experience. So maybe I want to use Matt Lauer and Bob Costas as the system engineers, but are they available? I can switch to the new screen and run the People Resource Allocation Report to determine the availability of these two resources based on their actuals and assignments for the duration of this new proposal. It looks like Bob and Matt are available part-time. I can click on Matt's name, drill in to view exactly what he's working on, and even if more than one project, and I can see what projects he's assigned to. I may create several of these what-if scenarios of resources, each with maybe completely different people, or maybe some people are the same, but others have different availability or different costs and bill rates. And then I can select these plans and compare these plans based on labor cost with the plan set comparison report. Once you've determined the best scenario of resources and budget for the tasks, a recommended best practice is to name your final plan as the final budget or the baseline, since this will be used to compare with the assignments of these resources, and you'll be able to compare that with the actual work performed when you're in the project working and executing. You'll be able to analyze how well you planned and adjust accordingly. You can now hit one button, this Assign button. This makes the project tasks available to the resources on the plan, and the timesheet users can now see these projects on their respective timesheets and start charging time. And as well, they can start charging expenses to the projects or tasks. An email notification can be set up to notify all resources assigned to the project so they know they can start work. How easy is that? One click of a button. Now, with all your real resources in place, the final project budgets and funding values can be recorded in the Project Budget tab. These numbers will be used for monitoring the progress of the project. So let's move on to the Execute stage in the project lifecycle. It's now time to start working. Of course, the timesheet should look very familiar to most of you with the time license, only allowing a user to charge time against projects that he or she is assigned to, and the ability to constrain charges for task date ranges and budget number of hours. Comments for each time cell can further detail the work assigned and can be required even upon saving the timesheet. And you also have audit trails that can be used to determine reasons for any of those changes. These are all settings that can be tailored per your business rules for strict enforcement of the budget and schedule of work assigned, or maybe not, you don't want to be so strict. The timesheets can be set up to be approved by the project lead and or project manager, and even a customer review of work charge could be defined if you required your customer, if your client required that. Same for expenses. This might be familiar to some of you who currently use the expense reporting feature in Unanet. Employees can collect travel or material expenses, for example, and attach appropriate receipts or documents, and import credit card transactions even. It follows the automated approval process, and if you need support for government expense reporting guidelines, we have that. The wizards define for the various expense types, improve data quality, and avoid unauthorized expenditures, maybe even overages set up by maximum thresholds, or per diem rates can be imported, determined by the government DCAA guidelines. Now, have you seen the user schedule calendar available to time users to report all the assignments to projects for a given period? The time user knows which projects he or she is scheduled to work on each day and the number of hours budgeted for that day. So now we're collecting time and work is being done. Monitor and control. Because this is an iterative process of assessing the progress of the project and proactively making adjustments to keep the project on track, I really think we should reflect this by adding an arrow back to the execute box. This creates a continuous circle of executing, working on the project, while monitoring the progress every step of the way. You need to know if the project is moving forward as planned. Are you burning at a faster or slower rate as expected? But as you know, very few projects really progress as planned, with potential unforeseen circumstances. You could be faced with swapping resources or adding resources, or maybe the requirements scope changed by your client, or there's other types of movement in your project. The goal is to catch these issues early. Let's see what tools Unanet provides to do just that. Reporting on burden costs with the cost summary report shows the current margin and profit to date. Are your direct and other direct costs in line? Did you plan accurately for these burden costs? You can drill down to view where exactly these costs derive from for actuals, which employees charged how many hours, and what was budgeted and what was planned for labor costs, and those other direct costs, or expenses, if you will. So let's talk a bit about earned value management. This is a methodology that assesses technical performance of planned work with regard to schedule and cost. It helps to determine if the project is under or over budget. So it takes into account the work that's completed, the time it's taking to complete the work, and the cost incurred to complete that work. This is available with the project tracking and the project portfolio license type. This CPI index, this cost performance index, this reflects how every dollar spent or cost, in other words, we're getting X% of that dollar's value. For month 2 here, the earned value report reflects a positive CPI. The number is greater than 1, so we're under budget for this particular month. The SPI, or the Schedule Performance Index, reflects how the project is progressing at X% of the planned schedule. So for month 2, the SPI is less than 1, so it looks like we're behind schedule for this particular month. We might want to add another resource here at this point in time. It's recommended that you record or snapshot your project, maybe weekly or monthly, to collect the percentage completed from those employees that are charging time. Now, several other questions can be answered with the earned value report. For instance, by how much did the work we actually accomplished cost, more or less than we planned? This is shown by this cost variance, where it's positive or negative. If we're under budget with a positive number of 49, here we may need to extend the current task schedule a bit longer in our proposal template. Or by how much did the work we actually accomplish vary from the work we planned? This is answered by the schedule variance, positive or negative. Now, evaluating our project 3 months later, we run the same earned value report, but here I've included another measurement for the project manager, which is the EAC, or Estimate of the Cost Dollars at Completion. And comparing this with our budgeted amount, and so far this is pretty low. Unanet even provides the earned value management chart, which plots the actual earned value from each snapshot in the time of the project. The planned earned value at each one of these red squares shows the actual costs when you drill down on each snapshot point. So to learn more about earned value management, send Cam an email and we can talk more specifically with you. I do want to mention that with our next 9.6 release, the earned value management will have an option to report on burden costs as well. Now, showing that one chart, charts and graphs available with the portfolio license, there are a variety of charts available to quickly view progress of projects and can reside on the project manager's home dashboard. The charts shown here include the periodic performance chart comparing actuals versus budgets versus plans. The project margin chart includes the cost and bill labor cost, and the cost and bill for labor, and a linear profit margin. You can immediately see where you are and the trajectory and drill down on each snapshot to view the cumulative margin dollar value. The forecast comparative chart depicts what has occurred so far with either bill or cost dollars and what is budgeted for the duration of the project. And all of these charts can be drilled down to determine the numbers that made up each of these bars. Revisiting the People Resource Allocation Report with actuals to date and budgets through the duration of the project, you can check your employees that are overutilized or underutilized. Wolf Blitzer seems to be overextended and he needs relief. Drilling in on his name, we can determine which projects he's assigned to and the budget of hours he's assigned to work. I could then submit a resource request to add some additional help here, maybe for a labor category or a role assistant engineer that Wolf Blitzer works as for this particular project. I need an additional 40 hours for the duration of the coding phase since I'm still under budget and I can afford to add a few more hours to the coding task. I could request a resource from another department within my company, and I can formally do that through the resource request tool. The manager attempting to fulfill that resource request, he can try to find a system engineer that's available by using the resource allocation report showing his employees, and then fulfill the resource request and say, yes, he can do those 40 additional hours for that DAR project. This can be sent back to the requester, and the requester can assign the person or deny the request. Per the billing rules defined by the type of contract, whether it's a time and materials, cost plus, or perhaps fixed price, items to be billed need to be posted, and once posted, they are ready to be included on an invoice that we previously defined the format to be when we defined and copied the template. One-time bill items, discounts, and level of detail can be included and tailored on this invoice. The billing and revenue summary report reflects the amount to be billed. We have one integrated system to shorten the invoicing cycle. Integrations to third-party accounting systems can be exported to create the correct general ledger entries once the invoices are completed. Client reporting could be extremely important, trying to produce an exact report in a specific format for your customer. Reporting is available via the thousands of standard reports, and if the requirement cannot be executed with a standard report, an ad hoc report can be created. Results can be copied into an Excel spreadsheet if necessary, or you can email that report, or you could grant limited access for your customer to log into Unanet and run those limited reports if you grant them access to, just those certain ones. Examples here are the project actual summary report with the labor category by task, but not showing the cost or the bill rates exposed, and the time details report. Finally, the project alerts are a convenient way to manage alerts and can be even emailed to notify the user that an alert has existed or occurred. When a threshold has been reached, for example, if a task has reached 100% complete, or when a budget is reached, 75% of that budget for the project has occurred, the user's dashboard will have a link indicating the new alert exists, and they can just click on it. The project manager will be immediately alerted or notified if that threshold has occurred, so he can adjust proactively and keep that project on task. So the goal of monitoring and control is to pinpoint any deviations that you have, research why there is a deviation, and adjust. You can analyze and detect the reasons why that burn rate is slower or faster than the predicted plan you have. Determine if your cost with actuals thus far is what you predicted, and adjust proactively to keep the project on track. Because you have the ability to assess the status of the project, you can evaluate the customer satisfaction on how they perceive the project is going. So moving on to the close stage of the project lifecycle. This is where you analyze what went well and what you learned. And you want to include these lessons learned in a Unanet note, perhaps in a narrative, as well as reporting final deliverables in a note associated with the project. Was the project profitable? Of all similar type projects, which were my top revenue performers? Which were my top revenue performers for my one particular customer, and why? You want to analyze the project's performance and be sure to tweak or adjust the template to reflect these lessons learned for the next time, for the next proposal. Again, the project notes can continue to prove useful by storing more items or documents at this stage. One example is a narrative of the lessons learned with the ability for others on the project to comment on their ideas as to what has occurred or occurred as planned, what deviated and why, and how to update the project template for the next project. Other topics for inclusion in the notes feature could be tech support info or risks identified and how they were addressed, or maybe even marketing collateral. Was the project profitable? The project status report shows to date the amount in hours and dollars over or under budget for cost rates and bill rates together on the same report. The margin report shows a different format for the project, the actual number of hours to date, the bill and cost dollars for time and expenses, and the margin between the two in dollars and percentage. What were my top performers? Closing this project, how does this compare with other similar types of projects or others for this customer? With the project metrics comparison report, you can run reports on all projects for a customer or a set of customers, or maybe just run this for all completed projects and show the gross margin for each of them. We even have a Gantt chart showing the schedule of projects with the inside bar showing how far along in the schedule the project is. And again, you can choose to report on all your projects or all the ones for a particular customer or a particular product business. And maybe you want to report on all the research and development projects. Based on similar projects' performance, what changes do I need to make or adjust in allocating more or less resources next time? Allocating types of resources? Maybe I really need to make sure I assign a more experienced Java programmer instead of the beginner level. Or maybe I need to adjust my rates. Maybe I need to adjust the schedule for duration or adjusting a particular project task budget of hours. Returning to my template project and the task list, which displays the additional reporting options of completed date, hours, labor costs, and expense cost budgets. I can see what was used, and then I can, more importantly, update my project here so it's ready for the next proposal coming my way. So in summary, the goal here is to be able to plan and budget effectively, learning from your past successes and failures, and incorporate those lessons learned into your project template so the next proposal is more competitive, you win the business, and your profit margin meets your goals while your resources are evenly loaded and managed properly, all with one integrated solution or tool. You can do everything in one place from proposal to close. You'll be ahead of the game after just a few iterations of managing the entire project lifecycle. I thought this chart might be helpful to show as it lists the various features that I've talked about by license type. Project costing, which is that burden cost reporting, the billing, invoicing, and revenue recognition, and earned value management, that's all available with the tracking license. Whereas resource planning here, requesting expense planning, skills management, forecasting, and periodic reporting, they're all available with the portfolio license. And as well, the periodic reports, the month-over-month or week-over-week type of reporting that I showed earlier, that's here as well with the project portfolio license. In addition, I've included these next 4 slides for your reference. I've shown so many different reports and listed the names of the ones on the screens. I've listed the reports available to you per license type here. So let me know, and I'll send you a copy of this presentation so you can have these next 4 slides to reference when determining if you have access to a particular report per your license type. Tracking, and then here's portfolio. If you notice here, the second column here is the periodic reports. And very quickly, what's coming up in the next release, 9.6, in late 2012? We'll have an option for earned value reports to report on burden costs. We'll have a login, be able to log in and track customer interactions and have a status of those interactions for your customers. We will be able to invoice across projects. And with resource management, we'll be able to display utilization while planning periodically and be able to swap those resources and be able to have a different pricing structure for planning those TBD or ghost users. Now be sure to check out our future webinar schedule, which is located on our website, Unanet.com, and you want to click into the customer support area. Again, I've mentioned before, the next CAM webinar is the Unanet Project Notes, Simplify, Search, and Share Business Intelligence on July 19th. This will provide more detail regarding yet another tool that I've touched on here. The webinar will dive deeper into the Project Notes collaboration teamwork tool, which everyone has access with all license types, to show the process of tracking documents, risks, issues, and so much more. More importantly, notice the upcoming Unanet University classes scheduled for the duration of the year. These are really phenomenal ways to learn how to implement specific features in Unanet in one day from 9 to 4 and have the ability to return to Unanet to apply your knowledge instantly. So now we want to take time out here to answer questions. Please enter those questions into your question box. I think we've answered all. I have covered a lot of material here today. I can give you a few more minutes if you have additional questions here. Again, the Customer Account Management team welcomes any suggestions that you have on topics that you want to hear more about in our future webinars. We love to hear from you. This is an idea from customers as well. Send those to me at cam@unanet.com. The CAM team values and appreciates each of you as our customers, and we look forward to working with you to maximize your Unanet system. You can request a copy of this presentation, and I am recording this webinar. The webinar should be posted in the link I provided for you here under the Customer Account Management Recording Webinars here. If you want a copy of that, I can send you this PowerPoint, and this is a hyperlink to that area. Just let me know. I have Donna here able to answer questions for you, so do feel free to keep typing away your questions.